Bye, Bobby. Haribo. Jai. Nice to see you again. Okay, and never just Raminder Swarup. Haribo. Naresh. Haribo. Did I get that right? Arjun Saka and Guru Das. Hare Krishna. Jai. Nice. Okay. Oh, and Gai Gaur. Jai. Tribhuvaneshwari, we've been missing you. Thank you. Anantashesh, how are you? Nice to see you. Okay, let's see, somebody. And Dharmaraj, how are you?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, very well.
Is that your last name, Pujari?
Yes, Maharaj.
Wow. You got your work cut out for you, don't you?
Yes, Maharaj.
All right, good. I was just going to say, maybe the devotees there in Amsterdam, can we just talk a little bit after? Would you be able to just stay on for a little bit?
Yes.
Yes, Maharaj.
The devotees from Amsterdam, yeah. And the Netherlands, Namacharya by Bobby, and yeah. Okay, great. I think we should get started, right, Vaishnavi? Okay. Let's begin with our pranam mantras to Prabhupada. To Prabhupada. Yeah. Okay. This is a picture of Prabhupada that was taken when he was watching a drama in New York. Krishna kidnapping Rukmini. So they captured him like this at the end of the show. Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? Okay, let's start. Nama Om Vishnuvadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Taramane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Puricharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Bhaskarya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Right. Thank you very, very much. Okay, let's go to page 1, our introduction, invocational mantra. Repeat after me. Om Jnana Timarandasya.
Om Jnana Timarandasya.
Jnananjana Shalakaya.
Jnana
Chakshurun Militam Yena. Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha.
Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha.
I was born in the darkest ignorance.
I was born in the darkest ignorance.
And my spiritual master opened my eyes.
My spiritual master opened my eyes.
With the torch of knowledge.
Torch of knowledge.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto him.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto him.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Prabhu. Okay, so Vaishnavi, tell us what glorious verse we're on today. We're getting closer and closer to the end. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Okay. Chapter 18. Text 67. Okay. Last week we went through that prime shloka 1866 about surrender. Okay, I'll go for the Sanskrit and the translation. And then, we can have several people read. Maybe we can, how about we try for 4 people to read, okay? We got 2 or 3 sentences each. All right?
Okay, Maharaj.
Would you like to cue them up?
Now, okay. We can start. Hari Pad Prabhu.
Yes.
Arjun Sakha, Dhanraj.
Okay, that's it. Okay, and we can have a 5th person just read the verse once again. Okay.
Namacharya.
Okay, great. Idam te nata paskaya nabakutaya kadachana na chashushu sabe Vachyang nachamang yobashutyati. This confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of me. Okay, great. And purport read by the aforementioned devotees.
Persons who have not undergone the austerities of the religious process, who have never attempted devotional service in Krishna consciousness, who have not tended a pure devotee, and especially those who are conscious of Krishna only as a historical personality, or who are envious of the greatness of Krishna, should not be told this most confidential part of knowledge.
Thank you very much. That's good. Yes, to give the others a chance. Okay.
It is, however, sometimes found that even demonic person who are envious of Krishna, worshipping Krishna in a different way, take to the profession of explaining Bhagavad Gita in a different way to make business. But anyone who desires actually to understand Krishna must avoid such commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. Actually, the purpose of Bhagavad Gita is not to understandable to those who are sensuous.
Sensuous. Okay. Next
Sensuous.
person. Next person.
Even if one is not sensuous, but is strictly following the disciples enjoined in the Vedic scripture, if he is not a devotee, he also cannot understand Krishna. And even when one poses himself as a devotee of Krishna, but is not engaged in Krishna conscious activities, he also cannot understand Krishna. There are many persons who envy Krishna because he has explained in Bhagavad Gita that he is the supreme and that nothing is above him or equal to him.
Thank you. Next person, please.
There are many persons who are envious of Krishna. Such persons should not be told of Bhagavad Gita, for they cannot understand. There is no possibility of faithless persons understanding Bhagavad Gita and Krishna. Without understanding Krishna from the authority of a pure devotee, one should not try to comment upon Bhagavad Gita.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. And we'll just go for that last reading of the verse again. Namacharya, right?
Yeah. This confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of me.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Bruce. Going back to chapter 7, there's a list of 4 different kinds of people who find it easy to come to Krishna. And then there are those, a list also of 4 kinds of people that just find it very difficult to appreciate the Lord at all. And I think we can just go over them very quickly. Namang duskritino mudha prapadyante naradama maya aparitagyanam asurim bhavam asrita. These are the people that are disqualified for surrendering. So they're called duskritinas in Sanskrit, means meritorious for mischief making. And namang duskritino mudha. Mudha means, well, Prabhupada sometimes translated as an ass. Okay, an ass is sometimes a member of the donkey family, I guess, that works very hard and doesn't have much brains, and he works very hard and is traveling along. There's grass on the ditch. that he could just kind of grab real quickly, but he's just being whipped so that he can move forward, and in the end he gets some grass. But all he had to do was just turn his head a little bit, grab something, and be on his way. So a person like that is considered to be less intelligent. Namang duskritino mudha prapadyante naradama. Naradama, nara means human. Adama means one who's low, just a low class kind of person. One who was not inclined to be thoughtful, to be introspective. Such a person is pretty much disqualified from understanding the confidentiality of God. The monk describes Maya aparitagyanam. Maya means solution. Aparitagyana, that's when your jnanam is stolen away by illusion. You might be a scholar. You might be, well, I wouldn't say a visionary, but you might be a logician, and you can, with your gifted as a rhetorical person, can turn heads around with your word jugglery. So those people have oftentimes become a little proud, and but they can never come to the point of being humble and engage in service. Maya aparitagyanam. Asurim bhavam asuritam. Asura is the last class of people. They're just ill-intended. They're just bad all around. Asura. Sura means demigod. Asura means the opposite of demigod. No real good qualities. Just envious would be a word. Envy. If you're jealous of someone, you actually recognize that there's some beautiful traits there, but you don't want to admit it. And then rather instead of glorifying a person, you like to point out that these individuals have some flaws. They have some idiosyncrasies. So those 4 different kinds of people with the 4 different kinds of mindsets, they do not surrender to the Lord. They have a hard time submitting. On the other hand, and I'll just we'll bring to everyone's attention the other verse. Does anybody have an idea of the opposite verse that we're talking about? Those who are inclined to surrender to the Lord. Does anybody remember from chapter 7 of the Gita?
Yes, Maharaj. Chaturvida bhajante mam.
Yeah. Jana Sukritin Origin.
Jana Sukritin Arjuna.
Arto Jignasur Aritarti.
Artarti Jnani
Yancha Bharatarshava. Yeah, and that's chapter 7, and it's which text? 16.
16.
Good. Very good to bring that up. I'm glad you know about it. O best among the Bharatas, 4 kinds of pious people begin to render devotional service unto me, Krishna, that is. The distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the absolute. These are the different mindsets of people that will come to Krishna. So first of all, maybe the most popular one is the distressed. Okay, people are stressed out, especially when you have interesting political leaders running the show. I don't need to mention which country. I mean, everybody knows what I'm talking about. So people are in distress, no doubt, and they go to God, when everything else fails. The kind of people might go on their knees. I've tried everything. Nothing works. No insurance policy works. No amount of sensuality works. Nothing. So those are the kind of people that will surrender to Krishna. They're genuinely desperate, and they get down and pray. Okay. So that's the first kind of person. And then we have number 2. Maybe somebody can describe that person. based on your own experience, or the 716?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah, go
The,
ahead.
the person asking for money or things, material things, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, there's that's also a very popular one. That's right. So such individuals, we take the example of Dhruva Maharaj. He was in want of opulences, riches. He wanted to prove that he was somebody. And he wanted to show that he could build an empire with the grandeur of like what Brahma would own, or Indra, like what the demigods could possess. So those kind of persons, especially if they are approached with sincere feeling, they may get something. Some people, they ask God for wealth. At least they're going to God. So some people are poor. A lot of the people I know that are poor, some of the unhoused individuals are just so jaded and so far gone. I don't know if they'll ever really surrender. That's not the kind of person we're talking about, though. Okay, and what else do we have? The inquisitive people. Can anybody think of someone who's inquisitive that came to Krishna? Well, let's backtrack. Who was in distress that surrendered to Krishna? Example from the Bhagavatam.
Gajendra.
Yes, Gajendra. Thank you, Haripad. You struck again. Gajendra was in distress. He was an elephant. Elephants, we like them. They're mammals. They're smart. They're intelligent. And but he got his leg caught in the jaws of a crocodile, so he was in distress. He plucked a lotus flower from the pond that he was in and offered it to the Lord. And the Lord came down on his bird carrier, Vishnu. And the Lord released his chakra and did a little chop chop here and a chop chop there. Basically killed the crocodile and spared his devotee Gajendra. Okay, so we talked about him. We talked somebody who was needing wealth. That's
Maharaj, I
Dhruv
was
Maharaj.
also thinking of Abhimanyu's wife, who came running to Krishna when the Brahmastra was released. She was also distressed.
Yes, yes. Surely we can use that as an example.
Well,
There's quite a few
Draupadi too, right?
examples.
Draupadi.
Yeah, we're taking some examples here from the Nectar of Devotion. I'm sorry, Vasanta, you had something.
Oh, Draupadi. I said Draupadi was in distress.
Oh, yeah. Yes, she was in distress. Yes, very much so. Okay, and the inquisitive. Anybody can think about those who are inquisitive that submitted to the Lord? I'll give you a hint.
4 Kumaras.
Yes, 4 Kumaras. They were in meditation. They were formerly sort of meditators, Mayavad, in that genre. And they had their eyes closed, and then they smelled the tulsi leaves, the basil plant tulsi. And it got them sort of excited and interested, curious. And they looked, where's the source of this? And they were at the feet of Vishnu. And they smelt the leaves and they looked, what are these massive, majestic feet? And they looked, went up the legs, the knees, the thighs, and the abdomen. And they said, this was a very powerful man. His name's Vishnu. So they got interested in the Lord through the senses. Good. So those are some examples, and you can read about it in the Nectar of Devotion. Then one who's searching for knowledge of the absolute. Any examples we can think of? Someone who's just very, very, let's say, evolved, brain is working very well, visionary kind of person. those are the kind of people that do surrender to God. Any examples?
Narada Muni?
Narada Muni.
Maybe.
Good guess.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. Actually, I'm just trying to dredge my memory to remember what example was given in the Nectar of Devotion. Searching for knowledge of the absolute. Well, maybe somebody can look it up in the Nectar of Devotion. Is that possible? Would somebody like to take up that assignment?
Maharaj, I'll give you an example, but Maharaj Pariksit, when he got cursed, he searched for the knowledge of the absolute.
Yeah, he was in distress. Okay. Knowledge of the absolute. I think it's a good guess. And I think that Krishna will give you some merits for your guess.
But Lord Chaitanya, wasn't he looking for?
That's also a very good guess. But I'm going
Maharaj, what about
Krishna?
I'm going to be very specific. It's got to be the example from the Nectar of Devotion. It's not that what you all are saying is wrong, no. But specifically someone who is smart and he just surrendered because he knew it was the right thing to do.
Like Rupa Goswami, you're talking about 6 Goswamis, Maharaj, one of the Goswamis.
Everyone's guessing really good today.
Maharaj, what about Brahma? Lord Brahma, when he was born, he couldn't see the source, so he was looking for what was the source from which he manifested.
I think your answer is really excellent. I think it's really good. Yeah. I don't think that's the example given in the Nectar of Devotion. And I could almost shoot myself for not remembering. But I think that this would be, let's research it. Anybody who's good. And while we keep talking, just keep digging, Nectar of Devotion. Okay. People are distressed. And those who surrender out of knowledge. If you can find it, you'd be doing us all a great, great favor. All right. Now, let's go back to our shloka for today. Okay. We are talking about different mindsets, the ones that are finding it really hard to understand confidential knowledge. Okay, so let's start off from the top, okay? Those who are atapaskaya, they're not into tapasya, not austere. They're into sensuality. They just want to feel good. They'll lie in bed for a long time. I don't want to get up. I'm just too cozy here. So that's one kind of person. Sensuous, self-centered, not engaging in any kind of austerity. Like even people who go for a jog every day, or maybe they go to just do exercise, perform austerities. You have those people who go polar bear dippers, I mean, these are people who are into self-discipline. They have a chance, because they believe in improvement. So those are just quite, lethargic and lazy. They don't make any endeavor, so they can't understand confidential knowledge or the relationship that one has with the Supreme. Okay, other examples. Those who are just not devoted or dedicated. Would anybody say there's a problem there? Let's say I don't dedicate myself to anything. I'm just very aloof. And I just, whatever happens, happens. There are people of that mindset, and they don't show dedication, devotion, or commitment. Let's put it that way.
Maharaj,
Yeah.
That would be very the mode of ignorance because you don't really care about the outcome. You just whatever.
That's right. I'm just thinking about some people who are like Teflon. They don't stick to anything. They don't commit to anything. They're constantly finding a new partner. And that kind of very self-centered kind of people. It's very hard for them to go deep in life. Yeah. And any other thoughts on that, Prabhus? I'm just going to go and close the window right now because it was warm. Now it's getting cooler. Okay. Anybody? Any thoughts?
Dhanraj?
Yes, Maharaj. I was thinking that somebody like that is basically living a very aimless life and is just like, thinking of I'll go with the flow kind of an attitude. So it's just somebody who's, not really focused and who's, like you said, very shifty.
No, yeah, sure. I think that's, Prabhupada doesn't elaborate too much on these different kinds of people. So we're going, and I think based on our wisdom, studying the whole Gita and almost coming near the end, I think, some of you got a good grasp on what the three modes of material nature are and what they do to you. Yeah, so those kind of people are just not committed to anything. They won't go to war if your country's at stake. They just they'll just go for hiding. So yeah, no commitment. A new woman every day, whatever. Just party animals, maybe, perhaps. Okay, so then, what about those who are not engaged in devotional service? That's pretty clear. Can you explain? Can anybody come up with something in that regard? Like service itself. Just put aside devotional service. People who like to render service and just because they feel better for it. When you give, you feel good. When you exert service, and there's a great quality in that. So those who are kind of commanding or demanding service, those are the kind of people we're talking about. Can you think of some kind of people, especially in the modern day, an age of today, that kind of person who would be very disqualified and fits into that category, not service oriented, but rather, what can you say? Okay, I can see people thinking, I guess some of the devotees are head is up and they're looking in the sky, and it's kind of nice for me to watch that. Yeah, go ahead, Haripad, go ahead. Let's hear from you.
So, Maharaj, I think some of the leaders of many of the countries, they have a great role, but they don't set a good example, they don't. They're very self-serving. So, I'm talking about politicians.
Sure, they render service. It's not an easy job, but it's for their own personal gain. Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, I also think about some people who got very entitlement kind of attitude. The world owes me. Serve me. I'm not going to serve anybody. I deserve it. Okay. My ancestors were here. They were the first to land here, and they're the first immigrants. They came in the 1500s. Blah. They just feel that they got this entitlement mode. Okay. So, and then one who's envious. Would somebody like to describe a jealous person and why it makes it hard for them to commit to or have any interest in confidential knowledge?
Maharaj,
does it mean?
Duryodhan was an example of somebody who was jealous.
Yes, he certainly was jealous of the
And
cousins, right?
I also looked up about the inquisitiveness that you asked, and the name that came up is Vidur.
Oh, he do it.
Vidur was
Okay.
very inquisitive to find out about spiritual knowledge from Krishna, and he was always seeking to get some information. That's one of the names that came up in the research, Vidur.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's appropriate, but that's what I could find. That's what I could dig out.
Yeah, we were looking for somebody who's in knowledge. You know,
Maharaj,
inquisitive.
I came across Janaka Maharaj.
Janaka Maharaj, where did you find that?
It was in like Nectar of Instruction, Nectar of Devotion. I
Okay.
have sent the paragraph also, like example of Dhruv Maharaj, Gajendra, the four Kumaras, and the rishis, the sages in the Naimisharya forest.
Okay, and Janaka was in there?
Janak, I'm sending that paragraph also, Maharaj.
The sages, no, okay, we did, okay, so we're a little off track here. I just wanted to stay on the envious level. Okay, if you want to stay here, good. Envious, let's just
Duryodhan.
stick there. Yeah, sure. Yeah. What does it mean to be envious of someone?
It means to be jealous. It means that you don't want to see them prosper or be better off than you are.
Mhm. That's right, and you do anything to put down that person.
That's right.
You actually recognize that somebody has good qualities, but you're not willing to share that, or you have a hard time accepting it just because you'd rather be in that position. Yeah. Okay. All right. So fine. Let's go back then. We already to the four persons who became enlightened. All right. So first person, according to the Nectar of Devotion, was those who were in distress. That was Gajendra. Okay. We did identify that. Thank you, Arjun Saka. You did your homework. The other person is Dhruva. He wanted wealth. We did identify that. We talked about the Kumaras who were curious, right? And then finally, we were stuck on who is who became enlightened. They surrendered to God through just being smart, intelligent. And we're talking about the sages of Naimisharanya. Is that correct? Arjun Saka?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay.
Yes,
Well, it was
Maharaj.
Arjun who brought it up, right? So just Arjun. Yeah, okay. Where did Janaka Maharaj come into the picture?
Inquisitiveness.
What, according to the Nectar of Devotion?
Arjuna, was it inquisitiveness or what was it?
No.
No,
Janak Maharaj is
we
not.
already identified the four Kumaras. Let's not get mixed up.
Oh, yeah,
The
sorry, that's my bad.
four Kumaras. Okay. So just to make it clear, Arjun Saka, what you found in the Nectar of Devotion was the person who are enlightened or they're just, they had a jnani tendency. What's the answer, please?
Maharaj, I'm still finding that one. They have written like the Nemshranya forest headed by the Sonaka. The sage
Okay.
was inquisitive.
Oh, it's inquisitive. Okay, yes. Okay, you're talking about the Kumaras. Yeah, we already addressed that. I'm asking about what the Nectar of Devotion says in regards to those who surrender to the Lord out of knowledge.
Still searching, Maharaj. If I
Okay,
get
well, you keep it going. Let us know when you find. All right, good. So, Prabhu's, I think we've identified in the past that there are confidential knowledge is used, it's a term used by Srila Prabhupada an awful lot. And there are different levels of this confidential knowledge. You're going to find it throughout the Gita. And now it comes up again. In fact, there's something more confidential than what you've heard before. Would actually be, I'm going to ask one of you to come forward, time allowing, to do a little research in the Gita about confidential knowledge, okay? Because it comes in installments, and we'd like to see how it evolves, this term confidential knowledge. What's the first step that Prabhupada uses for the first definition of confidential knowledge? And the second, third, fourth, there's at least about 4 layers. Am I sounding clear to everybody on that?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, so somebody wants to take it up as a task, or, maybe we can have 2 or 3 people working on it.
Sure, Maharaj, I can look it up. Confidential knowledge and stages in the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, the stages of confidential knowledge in Bhagavad Gita. That's the task. So
Yes.
Haripad agreed to take it up. Thank you.
Sure, Maharaj.
You're really into getting some merits here.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to take it up? Because requires a little research, and it's good when you dig like that, you tend to remember. Done, Raj? Okay, fine. And we're doing this out of curiosity to find out what is being meant by confidential knowledge, that as it's, as you read through the Gita, curious to know what are the stages, if any at all. Okay, what are those stages? What do they represent? Okay, I'm just going to open up the floor for anybody else who's got any questions at all in regards to what we just went over here. And I just want to relate to you that in the Bhagavatam, or even when you read Krishna book, there's lots of mention, especially at the tail end conclusion. Anyone who reads this story of Krishna destroying this demon will quickly receive, moksha or something like that. That's how some of these chapters end. But what we wanted to say here in text 67 is offering a conclusion about those who are condemned. Those who have got the right spirit, mindset, they surrender. What about those, who don't? Just give a little synopsis on that. Is that okay? Is that kind of understood? Maybe tell us the 4 kinds of people from your perspective, the ones that may find it really hard to surrender to the Lord.
I have a question, Maharaj, actually, what you said. Can I ask a simple question?
Sure.
So what you just mentioned, I think I remember reading Maharaj in Bhagavad Gita that Lord Krishna says that there are some people who never surrender to me. And he actually kind of says that they slowly descend into lower and lower quality of living entities.
I think you're referencing chapter 16 from Bhagavad Gita.
Divine and demoniac.
Divine demonic natures.
Yes.
Kururan, Samsareshus, Naradama, something like that. Yeah, there is a verse like that. And they're eternally put into envious bodies, that kind of thing.
Right. So, Maharaj, my question is, isn't that somewhat parallel to the Christian teachings where...
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
So,
you're right. Thank you for spotting that. It's true. There are some, let's put it this way. There must be a better way to say it, but black and white statements. Yeah. You'll go be eternally damned, but our philosophy has something a little, just say, contrary to that. A devotee or the Lord can intervene and change the destiny of someone. When making a contact with a devotee or with the Lord, one can just totally turn around and do almost an about face and go back to Krishna. So it's a curiosity for me too. When Prabhupada came to Toronto, 1976, and it was during the week, the Bhagavatam class. And one person, Michael O'Regan, he was a good friend of mine, he asked Prabhupada, because he was curious, when it says that one will be eternally going through species of envy and so on. Prabhupada more or less clarified. He said, yes, that's what it means. He didn't elaborate very much. But on the other hand, if the Lord if you happen to cross paths with a great devotee, even if you're destined to a condemned life, practically permanently, everything can change. Everything can change. So that might be a contradiction, but I think that most devotees will embrace something where there's hope inserted, where there's some kind of intervention by the Lord, divine intervention. So what do you think? That's what we're led to understand.
That's fantastic, Maharaj.
You may be destined to go to the lowest regions of hell and to take birth in various demonic species, like whatever they may be, serpents or, poisonous like the Komodo dragons or what. They're pretty devilish, aren't they? But through some divine intervention, the Lord may step in and change it all around for you. Okay, Arjun Sakas found out something for us here. Is that right?
Maharaj, while reading the paragraph of devotion, nectar of devotion, I found out the distressed one is mentioned as Gajendra, a desire of wealth as Dhruv Maharaj, inquisitive as the assembly in Nrsimha forest, headed by sage Shaunaka, and who is searching for knowledge of the absolute. They are Sanak, Sanatan, Sananda, and Sanat Kumaras, the four Kumaras. They are mentioned as the wise who are searching for the.
Right. And those who were inquisitive,
They
sages of
are
Namisharanya.
Naresharanya.
Okay, good. All right, we were pretty close. Okay, so the answers that were provided by devotees with your super wonderful guesstimations are not wrong, but we're just going by what the acharyas have given us. Rupa Goswami in particular, he's the author of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and Prabhupada's version of that is the Nectar of Devotion. So let's try to remember those beautiful examples, and when we come across them, because those verses from chapter 7 are very powerful, curious. Okay, let's hop back to where we were prior, before we got the insert by Arjun Saka. Okay. You divinely interrupted us. Okay. We were talking about the contradiction. Is that correct? An apparent contradiction.
Yes.
Yeah, Haripad, you brought up the point that the Christians say, surrender to Jesus or you go to the flames of hell, right? How many people have heard that scenario? How many? How many people have been approached as you're following the false prophets? Anybody? You've been told you're going to hell and all this stuff. Yeah.
Maharaj, could also the puzzle be, what do we mean by, like the phrase eternally conditioned soul? you know, eternity, do we really mean eternity, or is it, you know, at some point
Is
isn't
it
like a
relative
gazillion,
eternity, right?
it's gazillions of lifetimes, you know,
Yeah.
it might be finite, but still for our practical purposes seem infinite or eternal, but you know,
Yes.
I guess maybe that's what I'm getting at, is that um, there's maybe layers of meaning in that word eternal, you know.
Mm. I've resorted to that explanation, and I'm quite happy with it myself. It could be some of acharyas have delineated on this. Yeah, when we say, you know, yeah, someone's condemned forever, it may not be forever, but a long, long time could be, let's say, defined in the minds of some people as forever. Yeah. So it's good to bring up that point. Yep. Thank you very much. It's hard to believe that somebody could be eternally condemned to lower forms of life. And I guess sometimes we hear, like in Chaitanya Lila, if someone is really offensive, that terminology comes up sometimes. Very gone, permanently damaged. But let's say it's for a long, long time. Because let's say if the Lord is very, he's been blasphemed at. I mean, you even have people like Shishupal, he was so insulting to Krishna. And for all that he had said and done, he should probably, just be damned forever. But the Lord still was kind and gave him a form of liberation.
Or Jagai and Madai, like.
Yeah, these Jagannath, Shishupal Dandapakra, we have Ravana, we have Kumbhakarna, we have Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha. These were like the worst of the biggest rascals of all. But they all were given a chance. They were all given a chance, a new life, new birth, and finally a form of liberation. So the Lord is not so severe in his chastisement, it seems. I mean, one of the ways that Krishna identifies himself is that he is the rod of chastisement. He'll come across heavy-handed. But then on the other hand, he will also give someone another chance. That's what I liked about Krishna consciousness. When I first came, you're given a second chance. There was one time on my third walk across Canada, we had to get our support vehicle fixed, and myself and Garuda, who owned the vehicle, we were sitting there, and the man who was doing the repairs, he was a very born again kind of Christian, fundamentalist. He leaned over on the counter, said, so while we were waiting and, looking at some magazines, I was having a little break. He goes like this, well, it looks so. I guess you two are going to where it's hot. Meaning, you're not following Jesus, so you're going to go to where the flames are. And there was a lady, she just had come in, and she was like, also came in to get some repairs done. And she just chastised him, almost like in a joking way. She said, oh, come on, now you stop that. It was funny. Yeah, but there's some people believe that it's eternal, and they go by the book. And it can be very scary when people go by the book. And going by the book means taking everything literally and not like absorbing the whole culture, the whole tattva or truth. We do have statements like that. If you kill a cow, you'll be born again into as many lives as there are hairs on the body of a cow. That's a lot of hairs. Hare Krishna. I think it's pretty severe, or if you do something like if you offend or break your vow at Ekadashi time, it's like killing your mother. I mean, really. Okay. So there are these extreme statements, and I think that they're there to shock us somewhat, but we also have to look at things very practically. And Prabhupada was, if his name wouldn't be Prabhupada, it would be Practical Pod. Yeah, practical. And, you sometimes meet devotees who say, oh, look at you deep fried that it was a Kaddishi and you deep fried, a pakora, and yesterday it had the same, the ghee or oil, and it was with besan flour, So, it's now contaminated. You get all those kind of things. Oh, God. We even heard of one example where there was little hing, in hing, aspatida. It's cut with some grains. And so someone mentioned during Prabhupada's time, I haven't read it anywhere, but I heard it with my own ears. Someone was giving a class in Vrindavan, and someone mentioned that there's hing in that sabji, and Prabhupada made mention, oh, we're not that fanatical. I just want to keep that in mind. It doesn't mean we shouldn't be strict. It just means that we shouldn't get too carried away. We shouldn't get too carried away to the point where we take everything literally. I think it's really important to make sure we have a wholesome approach to what's in the books and what's in our culture.
So, Maharaj, does that mean that somebody can have coffee once in a way, or somebody can have onion and garlic once in a way? Because that, how do you take that?
No, once you make your vows, you try to stick to your commitments, right? But let's say if there's an accident or something. Another example, there were devotees, they had prasadam at a lady's house. She was working really hard to please the devotees, and I believe this took place in India, and Prabhupada was with them, and he was so impressed with her attitude, of full-on devotion. She didn't know that onions were a no-no in a sabji, right? So devotees were eating, and they were starting to eat. They could smell. And one of the devotees said, Prabhupada, there's onions in the sabji. And he gave a little bit of a nudge, eat it. He said, eat it. And so the higher principle was that he didn't want her to be discouraged. I mean, if there was chicken in there, it would be a different story, right? But we're just giving some examples of how Prabhupada was very much for the rules and regulations, but he was also lenient, a little more lenient under certain circumstances. In other words, the devotees were not going to go to hell because there was an onion in the sabji. God. If I could bless anybody, I would just say, bless you that you'll never become a fanatic. And I'll share it with everyone. Those devotees who are, up there, we've got Namacharya and Ritam, who's Rabinder Sarup. I would just like to do a play and develop it. And I spoke to a Vachaspati. He's a boy who lives half the time in Toronto, half in Chicago. He's a very good playwright. And I sat with him yesterday and I explained I'd like to do a drama of fanaticism. And the story from the Chaitanya Charitamrita is of Ramachandra Puri. So I'm saying this to you all. I hope you won't steal my story and, and plagiarize, But I'd like devotees to see it like in a mirror what it means when you're a little bit fanatical, and you get a chance to laugh at yourself. And I would like the story to be a nice juxtaposition of Mahaprabhu, who's very pure, represented an emblem of purity. And then also Ramachandra Puri, who is offense personified. I'd like for us to do that study. And, we do really funny things sometimes, And it would be an attack on fanaticism. And the story would highlight Ramachandra Puri. Maybe we call it the agitator. What do you think, Prabhu?
I think it sounds awesome, Maharaj, and I look forward to that. I hope you record it and put it on YouTube or something so that if we're not able to see it in person.
Well, they asked if I would look after the entertainment or when they open the TUVP. So I said yes, as long as I get a budget to work with. And I have some people that will work with me on the organization of it all.
Nice.
Yeah. So maybe this is my request to all of you. If you could just jot down for me anything that you found fanatical about in your temple or in your community that needs to be kind of looked at under a microscope and said, maybe this is more harmful than it is, let's say, useful. Yeah. So if you could think of anything fanatical, I think it'd be really nice. Give us the chance to look at ourselves and laugh our guts out. All right. So that's what I want to share with the two devotees there who are thespian theatrical people. And anybody else now who, when you came to a temple, you saw something a little bit odd and, fanatical, like say my good friend Peter Burwash, who since passed away about a year ago, when his mother came to the temple in Toronto back in 75 to meet Prabhupada. And she was raised an Episcopalian. And so she came because her son was interested and he was a tennis champ, Peter Burwash. So we spent 3 hours with Prabhupada learning how to run a good business. And so when she came, Peter reminded us of this a few times. She had like a dress on. She was like a little bit of an older lady than us. And there were no chairs. We didn't believe in chairs in those days. So, and she couldn't sit cross-legged. And so she just put her feet out kind of straight more towards the deities. And somebody got so heavy with her, oh, you can't do that, And it was just not a good newcomer friendly, experience for her. So we tend to get really fanatical, okay? Like say for men on this side, women on that side. When you go to Hindu temples, the whole family just comes together. Yeah. Anyway, anything that comes to your mind that you find is a little bit strange from the fundamentalist point of view, please jot it down and give it to me and I'll compile them and I see if we can incorporate it into our drama. Ramachandra Puri, he was such an agitator that everyone was so happy once he left town. Goodbye, and don't come back again. Okay, we have run out of time. We've given you some homework for booze. So please get back to me on that, okay?
Sure, Maharaj.
Yes, Maharaj.
All right, super. Thank you. It's time for us to have a little prasadam here. and that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah,
And
Maharaj.
I just finished doing a walk, 12,000 steps.
Yay.
And
Wow, Maharaj, 12,000 steps? Whoa.
Oh,
that's pretty
awesome.
easy to do. I'll be honest with you. It's not that difficult.
Maharaj, I have 11.
What's that?
I have 11.
You've done, did you say 11?
11,000, yeah, today.
You did today? Yahoo! Okay. I think if you do 10,000 a day, you're going to be good. You'll be fit. You'll be fit for the rest of your life. It's not overdoing it. Bruce, thank you very much. I'm going to go down now.
One check.
And Vanchakalpatarubhyascha,
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Maharaj, can I give you a 1 minute call? Just a 1 minute call because
Yes,
good
sure.
news.
Yep.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Haripal, do you want me to?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, I'll.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
very much.
Devotees, thank you very much.
Everybody, have a good weekend.
Take care,
Hare
devotees.